Okay, now we're live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to another one of our KubeCon edition deep dives that we're doing this week. And this one is on Nomad. And as you might have noticed, we normally have 2 guests on for our Nomad Community Office Hours, but today we've actually got 4 guests, which is really exciting. So, welcome to today's session. And my name is Jacquie Grindrod, and I'm a developer advocate here at HashiCorp. And if you just a quick reminder, if you have any questions or comments, we'd really love for you to interact with us in the chat. And as you do, just please keep in mind that we do have a code of conduct for this virtual space. In general, we want you to be welcoming, inclusive, friendly, and patient with each other. Be considerate, be respectful, and be professional. And if you have any more questions about our code of conduct, you can go to hashicorp.com/community-guidelines. And with that, let's get started. And we're going to go straight into introductions with Gale first.
Hi, I'm Gale Fagen. I am the engineering manager for the Nomad team and a former bitter practitioner and troublemaker.
And I believe Kris is next.
Hi, I'm Kris Hicks. I'm a product engineer on the Nomad core team.
Hi, I'm Kent Gruber, and I'm a product security engineer at HashiCorp.
I'm Drew Bailey. I'm also an engineer on the Nomad team.
So this is actually super exciting today because I think this is the first time that we have multiple folks with a practitioner focus on Nomad Community Office Hours. So it seems apropos for this particular event. And I think, okay, so why are we talking about Nomad at KubeCon? First of all, there are tools that complement each other. And I think that the main goal and something that we always strive towards is to be using the right tool for the job. Nomad has fewer moving parts. Nomad complements Kubernetes in lots of ways, and this follows a pattern that we've been seeing with folks running multiple orchestrators that are suited to different types of workloads. So kind of the most something that's been a frustration for the 20 mumble years, I don't really like to think about that I've been doing this, is observability and logging. And it's gotten better and it's gotten a lot more useful, but in general, your easy setup is only good until something doesn't work. Something will always not work. Things will always happen, and then you get to a point where you require observability, you require introspection. Even if you have a big fire hose and oodles of logs, that they're not necessarily useful. We've developed various ways of mitigating that. Even more, better than some human looking at a log line is, of course, to actually have an event sent and react to it, because that's the way we do things in the modern world. So it's a fraught landscape, and it touches on really so much of what we need to make a good environment great. And to really be able to optimize, to do optimization, to have good APM going, to get observability. And so yeah, that's just, I know a couple of, so, okay, enough of me going on about that. I'm joined here today by, again, several other folks who have a focus, or who've been practitioners recently, or have had a practitioner focus. So there's, and y'all know Jacquie, and and recently Kris Hicks joined our team and actually comes from a practitioner world. Kent is doing security things and actively actually made one of my favorite contributions to Nomad, which is our GCP getting started guide or getting started tutorial. So what are your kind of chronic frustrations with logs and events, and what are your thoughts on this?
I think probably like the main issue that I have is that just understanding exactly what was happening inside the cluster just required just a little bit too much tribal knowledge for my liking. And not having structured logs, which is sort of important, I feel, for really getting context out of the different events that are happening inside the cluster. I'm really looking forward to having effectively that, that stream of deltas coming out of my cluster with a really clear structure event that I could, go look at the documentation for, and then be able to build very clear auditing or event pipelines around effectively.
Awesome. And Kris actually came to our team while the most recent project around events that we were working on was in flight. And Kris, I think you were stepping out of more of a practically focused role as someone who works with Nomad.
Yeah, so prior to joining the team as a core contributor, I was operating Nomad on the cloud services team, which is what runs the HashiCorp cloud platform. And so from that, I had my first experience with Nomad actually. Prior to joining HashiCorp, I had a lot of experience with Kubernetes and Cloud Foundry. And so now I'm seeing the other scheduler, Nomad.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I'm curious, what I found that different platforms have different frustrations. What has frustrated you about just events and telemetry? What are you excited about? And does it vary per platform? I guess at least I don't know. I've found that. So
I think it certainly varies per platform. Given the maturity of Kubernetes and the amount of developers that have been dedicated to it for a long time, they certainly have very robust stuff compared to Nomad. But I think Nomad has an opportunity there to get to a better level of being usable for operators, for people that want to see like SREs, that want to see what's going on inside of Nomad, to find out more information about the clusters than they have before. It reminds me of other projects that I've worked on that started out very small and were useful, but did, like Kent described, required tribal knowledge. Like you really need to know when this kind of wild error appears, that means that this actually occurred and this is where you need to look. And so making that experience a lot easier for people is something that we can definitely improve on. And I think as the Nomad team grows, we will deliver that.
awesome. So that is all kind of I think we're, or at least I am familiar with largely being the consumer of such streams and such events, and usually helping whatever team of folks that I'm working with get deeper insight. Used to apparently I got a little bit pigeonholed into observability and performance tuning, which are kind of closely related. So with that, I will say that I regard what I do, and I regard that side of the house as the relatively easy part, and actually building a robust system and thinking about events in a systemic way. Basically, the design is something that has always mystified me a bit. So I don't, Drew, you are you've been leading a lot of our event work lately, so please.
Yeah, so we've definitely been kind of like framing around this issue of trying to figure out what all is happening in a cluster, and a Nomad cluster specifically. But maybe for those who don't know, and if it's not obvious, like the Nomad 1.0 beta that is out right now has this new feature called the Nomad event stream, which allows you to subscribe to a stream of events and in near real time, so you can basically get a copy of all of the changes that occur within Nomad. There have been, with Nomads, before Nomad 1.0, the community still found a way to provide themselves with this feature, namely the Nomad Firehose tool has been probably the most popular way to subscribe to changes within Nomad. But with no fault of its own, they had to develop this tool using what they had available to them, which in Nomad was blocking queries, which are a way of using long polling over HTTP to essentially say, hey, I know about this, maybe an allocation or a job at this given index. So I'll send out a request blocking to wait for that endpoint essentially to change based off of a different index. So it works, and it's been a great tool, but like it definitely has some side effects, and it definitely causes a lot of there's a lot more coordination that needs to be done on the client side to build up a stream and make it feel cohesive, because it's not really. You're stringing together all these different HTTP requests and trying to make it act like an event stream. So one of the side effects you'll see is the normal Nomad agent logs are completely annihilated just with all these different HTTP requests. You'll just see all these HTTP requests going out to all these different endpoints whenever there's a change. So yeah, we wanted to kind of come up with a way to at least rectify some of these challenges, and maybe at a minimum give our community tools a better way to interface with Nomad to get changes out of Nomad. So we kind of leaned into the existing tools and stuff that we had set up for Nomad. Nomad is built on top of Raft. We use GoMemDB as our in-memory state store. And Console happened to be working on a similar issue for more of like an internal event stream to help with some performance throughput they were seeing with issues that you run into when you're scaling blocking queries up to try to like figure out the health of a particular console service up to like tens of thousands of nodes. It starts to not work. So they kind of had to come up with an event stream, and Nomad was able to use a lot of the work that the console team did to kind of pivot a little bit and make this event stream more so of like just like an event stream that works for Nomad for external consumers to rely on to get their events out to some external sync. So yeah, we're basically tracking all the changes that occur in Raft, and whenever there's a change, like a job is updated or a deployment is updated or an evaluation is created, we add it to Nomad's internal event broker, and we have ways to subscribe to those to that stream with different types of filters. You can if you only want to listen to deployment events, you can do that. If you only want to listen to allocation events, you can do that. So these are all kind of things that we looked at for what the current community tool use was. And like, so if you wanted to send one sort of event off to AWS EventBridge or another one to SNS or a different one to a Slack webhook, you kind of had this way to construct multiple streams pretty easily. So yeah, it was fun to work on. I'm glad that Kris has joined the team, and now him and I are kind of experimenting with some new performance improvements on top of the performance improvements we get by moving to an event stream. So yeah, it's been fun.
Super exciting. It was really just an amazing. It was amazing to watch what happened when Kris joined the team and you started talking and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. So that was just as a spectator, that was a lot of it was a beautiful thing to watch, and I'm super excited about super excited about Event Stream and the work that both of you have been doing. Cool. So, and actually, Kris, I think, did you want to take it from here?
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
Michael has a quick question if we want to answer it before we pivot to demoing, if that's okay.
That works.
So he asked, is the event stream more for monitoring, or can I build tooling on top of it too, like meta orchestration? This is something that's really interesting to us. We definitely want to see things beyond monitoring on it. Like one use case for the event stream, we'll be looking at events retroactively to go back in time, look at like whatever time series database you have, whether you're sending events to Datadog or EventBridge, like mapping out these events and looking for trends in kind of like a monitoring sense. But using them to build tooling on top of and react to is something that we're also really interested about. We've thought about like maybe monitoring node draining or reacting to once a node is deregistered, maybe you want to programmatically react to spinning up more. There's really a lot of opportunities here, and we're really excited to see where the community is going to go with it while we try to come up with some fun use cases on our own.
Cool.
All right, I'll take it from there. So I'm going to demo a kind of proof of concept that Drew and I worked on to expose the event stream as a gRPC endpoint, which actually builds on top of the existing HTTP endpoint inside of Nomad. So I'm going to share my screen and hope that this text is big enough. So I've got a few panes going on here. The pane on the left is a Vim editor, which has open some source code. It's a Go project. This is the example that any consumer of the event stream would write. It doesn't need to be in Go. It could be in anything that supports gRPC. On the right side, I have these two panes that are in this directory called Firehose nozzle. And that's the same directory, just two different panes. And from those panes, I will run an instance of this code on the left. And then in the bottom right, I have Nomad running. This is a dev Nomad server that has TLS enabled. One of the caveats of using gRPC with our current implementation, which is like the first pass of this, is that gRPC typically requires TLS. There is a way to get gRPC to work without TLS, but we haven't set that up for this demo quite yet. So in this example, we have the dev server running with TLS.
Hey, Kris, can you bump the size up just a little bit? Sorry.
Sure. We'll go 3 bigger. How's that?
Thank you. I think that's better. I'll wait for it to come on the stream and see how it looks again.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I'll go through the code on the left, which is, again, the code that any client of the event stream would write, or some version of this. In this case, we have a lot of TLS setup, which isn't particularly interesting here. So I'll kind of skip all of that. The more interesting bit is when we do the gRPC dial to Nomad. So this is the local dev cluster. It's reachable on localhost port 4646, which again is the typical HTTP port. And we also include those credentials. And then we create this new event stream client with that connection. So this is a new package, this PB stream, which is the protobuf stream package that is available inside only a branch of Nomad at this point. So we can give that branch name in the chat somewhere if you wanted to check it out yourself. And then we use that new client to subscribe to the event stream. So this is where we give the request saying what we want to subscribe to and how we want to subscribe to it, what kind of things we want to filter. You can say, I don't want to filter anything. I just want to get all of the stuff, in which case you can say, give me topic all, or you can do things where you kind of narrow it down more to say, I only care about deployments, or I only care about deployments with particular tags associated with them. So like a deployment with a particular name. And then once that is that subscription is there, we're holding on to that. We can then kind of skip this bookkeeping, which is some Go stuff for running the program, down to this for loop. So this is an infinite loop, which will just continue to receive events off of the subscription. those events come back as a batch of events. So when Drew is describing how it's implemented, it does look at, or the events are sourced from Raft transactions occurring, and each single Raft transaction may have many different changes associated with it. Presently, we're batching up all of those different events into one thing called an event batch. So you get one event batch back, and then inside of that event batch, you have many events. And so in this example, we're just printing out the events that we get in a slightly prettier version than you would get if you just dumped the struct directly. So since I have Nomad running, I should be able to run one version of this Firehose nozzle. So already we got some events. This is the node registration because I started up Nomad. It's not running any jobs presently, so we're only seeing node registrations. But I want to also start up another version of this, which is only looking at deployments. So I'm going to update the source code there and run another version of this thing. So this one will only be showing information about deployments that occur. And then what I'll do is use the sample jobs that Nomad has in it. There's an example job which runs Redis, and I will just run that job. So as soon as I ran that job, we see that there's some output on the top. A bunch of stuff happened there. We registered a job. We see that the topic type for this one was an evaluation. That evaluation had a deployment associated with it, which came up a bit later. We can also see below that we have topics that are only deployments. So that's our filtering in place. And that's basically what it does. We can change this to be other kind of topics. This topic filter also has filter keys as a thing that we can pass. And that's how we would say we only want things which match a certain name, let's say. We're not going to do that here because I only have this one job, but that's the first version of this, the beta version, which is not yet merged into master, but it will be eventually. And we're looking to get feedback on how other people are using it and what different changes we can make to this to make it a better user experience if it's not where it needs to be. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Cool. We actually have a couple of questions. And sorry, Jackie, I think...
No worries. I was just going to say some people said the text was good and some said that it was still a little bit small, so maybe a little bit more. And then we're also getting a question around, is this demo code available and can we share the link if so?
So the demo code on the left pane here is not available, but I totally can make it available. We have an examples directory inside of Nomad, so we might put it in there. And it's currently on a branch called event/proto-service. We might put it on a different branch, but it will be available on that branch. Also, I can make this a little bit bigger.
I think I saw a while back a good question for Kent. Actually, I want to see if we have any more questions about the demo we just saw before.
Yeah, I was thinking if we have any demo questions, we can do them during this, and then the other ones that come in, we can address in the Q&A so that we don't pepper Kris with other questions that might. Demos are stressful, so. I don't think we had any more specific demo questions right now. Cool. So I think you'd be good to continue.
All right, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Kris. Again, really, it's been lovely to just sort of watch the evolution of this, and it's fun to be able to remove obstacles for teams, but we get to remove obstacles for many more people than that. So, oh, there we go. So actually, we just got a question. How does GRPC performance compare to HTTP event-based syncs or HTTP-based event syncs?
So I think the performance will be greatly improved because when you use the HTTP-based sync, you need to make a new request. So the way it normally works is you say, I want to make a request and it's going to be about a deployment. And when you get that response back, you get a header, which has the index that you can use in a subsequent request to continue kind of watching that particular thing. That means that you need to go through a complete connection, tear down, and reconnect every single time you make a new connection. And in that time span, you may actually miss things that you might care about. And so it's not the greatest there. gRPC, however, is built on top of HTTP2, and so you can have one connection that is reused for all these different events that are being streamed to you. It is designed to be highly performant and has been used at places like Google, where it came from, and other places that I've worked, submitting many, many, many events, more so than I think we've seen probably in a Nomad cluster.
I think there was a, let's see, there was a question, can we elaborate on topics? Can I subscribe to multiple ones with a single stream?
Yeah, so the example that I gave, the code showed me just looking at one kind of thing like all or deployment or maybe one other thing, but you can combine those things however you would like. So you could say, I want to see any deployment with name foo, but also I want to see any job with name bar. So you can combine those however you'd like.
Cool.
Perfect. I'm sorry, I was just scrolling through the chat. That was my bad on the misunderstanding, because I thought you were mid-demo pausing, and so I was like, yeah, we'll do demo questions, but if it's not mid-demo, then I think we can do the other questions too.
And I also wanted to clarify one thing on what I just said. So you can filter on things where it matches exactly, but you can also still say match on anything of this kind. So I could say any deployment or anything that has a matching key of a particular thing. So you can really mix it and match it however you like.
Perfect. So one of the first questions we had come in was, what kind of security is in place to protect against information disclosure attacks?
Yeah, so normal Nomad ACL tokens, when ACLs are enabled, we're going to be using to limit what event types you can actually subscribe to. To subscribe to all event types, you're going to need a management token, or if you're effectively root on the cluster, so you're a privileged user. And then to have any of the event types for jobs, it's effectively going to need job read. So you should have access to the information from the Nomad API. Otherwise, you just now have the event way of accessing this information. So it should be limited for any information disclosure.
Oh, I'm muted. Anyway, awesome. Thank you. So the next question that we had come in was, will we keep asking for feedback on Discuss for different things? I liked being able to feel like I was contributing even though I'm not on the product.
Yes. So definitely, and we want feedback. We want to continue to solicit feedback. We would like bugs. Was this specifically with regards to event stream in 1.0, or?
I think this one came in just before the demo. So
okay. So I can say from my perspective, having a little bit more of a larger roadmap view. First of all, we love it when we get feedback, and second, one of the things that we're trying to do more and more is to be able to give previews of some of these features. We'd really like to. Sometimes as a practitioner, it's felt like a one-way conversation, and we really want to be able to bring the community and our users into that dialogue more and more. So short answer is yes. And the longer answer is yes and.
yes, and always, please give us your feedback. We want to hear it. The next question we had come in is, how does the event stream interact with existing features like task events and node events? I'm assuming that there's this, oh, I can't read. I'm assuming they're the same events consumed differently.
Yeah, I can take this one. It's a bit of a naming thing. Like task events and node events exist in Nomad currently. So you could say Nomad node status or Nomad Alex status to see any recent events that occurred on an allocation or any recent events that occurred on a node. in terms of the event stream, you'll be able to see though, like when a new task event occurs on an allocation, it will eventually make its way from the client back to the server, and will save that task event in through Raft in our state store. So that will generate an event stream event. So you'll be able to see, you'll basically get the whole allocation with the new event in the event stream, but you'll still be able to interact with them as you previously would.
Awesome. I think at the moment, that's all the questions that we've had come in through chat. So it's going to take like another minute after I say this, but for anyone watching, if you have questions, this is the perfect time to ask, because we have a great range of people on the call today and not as many questions as usual. So let's see. Okay, I was just checking there. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
So yeah, I think we'll definitely try to get that that demo code up so folks can grab it. And I guess we can post to the forums or tweet it out, or the comm stuff. Jacquie knows all the magic things, so.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. No pressure at all.
And I think we had some other questions that came in before the live stream. So I think we could probably go through some of those if you're good with that. Yeah, okay. In the meantime. All right, so the first one of those we had is, I heard about audit logging. Is that the same as the event stream?
It is not, it's different. I think they solve kind of two different use cases. Audit logging in Nomad is an enterprise feature, and that is more of a way for larger organizations to meet like different compliance and security goals within their organization. So for audit logging, it's currently file-based, and it is intended to audit log the Nomad HTTP clients, which run on servers and client nodes. So whenever you make an HTTP request to either a server or a node, depending, regardless of what the endpoint is, we'll audit log who made the request, what the request was for, and you'll get an audit log for the requesting the request, and then once the request was completed, to kind of track the whole life cycle of the HTTP request. The event stream, we wanted to be open sourced because we think it will really enable the community to build on top of Nomad, and it's not really meant to kind of meet those regulatory and compliance things that an audit log might.
All right, thank you. That actually helps, because I was going to ask that at some point too. So I'd be like, what is my specific differences?
And that is actually that is a very reasonable explanation that even a manager can grok. So
Yeah, it was good. Not to say other answers have been bad. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to imply that at all, but we'll just go on to the next question.
I will say, when I was saying that, I was definitely looking for Kent to nod his head to make sure I wasn't making up anything about why we wrote audit logging.
I love this. This is fun. So our next one that we have preceded was well, done before this, is what consumes the event stream?
Currently, we don't. It's up to users. It's something that you have to opt into. If you run Nomad as a dev agent, you will get the Nomad event broker will be enabled. Otherwise, it's a server configuration flag that you have to set. And as we learn more just from using the event stream ourselves, and we have more time to test its performance characteristics, I think it's something that we'd like to enable by default once we have all the confidence in for like what its memory usage and kind of CPU footprint look like. And I think once we get there, we can start looking at Nomad itself, using it to help enhance certain CLI commands, or for monitoring the flow of something like a node drain or a deployment potentially. We're currently having a little bit of a hack week for our team right now, and some team members are playing around with having Nomad agent dev just be completely event stream driven, using some fancy new UI things that are in the Waypoint project. So we're having a lot of fun using and learning how we can make Nomad better with the event stream. So yeah.
We've also had chats with the authors of Nomad Firehose, and there was interest in rewriting the backend for that to actually use the event stream rather than the long polling that it's currently doing.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people will be happy with that just from the agent logs alone with all the HTTP requests that the old way generates.
You mentioned the hackathon. I don't know if I can ask this, but if I can't, I guess Gale can veto me. But what are the coolest things you're seeing being built, or are there any like common themes around problems we're trying to solve? I'll take that as this is okay.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the one that I just talked about, I am helping out with a little bit on, and one of our UI developers is also working on it right now. And it's really interesting because it uses Mitchell's Go Glint UI framework for basically like dynamically rendering and updating terminal output, which is really nice. You can get some fancy spinners and different styled UI components that way. And that's also using the event stream. So that's been pretty interesting, but there's definitely a lot of cool stuff going on. Yeah, that's the one that comes to mind immediately for me. I don't know if anyone else has any that they want to share.
Let's see. Seeing a couple of hardware and controller things, and those are always fun. We have a proliferation of teeny clusters right now, and some folks are playing around with those. And let's see. One of the, I don't know, just seeing lots of awesome things from teams that, or portions of the Nomad org that don't normally get to interact with each other. So that's always fantastic.
And Michael has joined the chat with a, I'm going to mess this word up now because I thought about it and I shouldn't have thought about it. Anyway, obligatory hackathon disclaimer that no guarantees any of this actually ships, as it is a hackathon, but just throwing that one out there. And the next question we had come in was around Kris's demo. Which Vim plugin do you use?
I'm using VimGo, and I also use Ale.
All right. Our mod copy pasted my question of why am I like this into the questions, and just had to like stare at it for a second and go, no, I'm not reading that. But now we did it anyway. So the next question we had come in was, if I were to play with the beta, what kind of feedback would you like to see?
I can answer that for the event stream. We'd love to hear about what kind of events you'd like to see next. Currently, we support jobs, allocations, deployments, evaluations, and node events. There's a lot more different types of objects in Nomad. We'll eventually get to all of them, but any help on the priority there would be great. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has anything else. I forgot what the original question was. I can only think about event stream right now.
So something that I know is going on in Dockland, by the way, is we're reorganizing things a bit, and there's a new section that I think I commented on the PR for it earlier about operating Nomad. So I think anytime that we get operational feedback, it's always valuable. And really understanding something that we always try to understand is anything that isn't intuitive, anything where there is documentation, but it didn't quite go the way it was supposed to, or that just didn't seem to make sense. That's always helpful. For the beta specifically, though, not sure if we, let's see.
I think HCL2 might be another big one.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of functionality that unlocks in terms of how people are writing their job files. So yeah, HCL2. If you're using Terraform and you're a fan of HCL2, please let us know on how we can make the Nomad job files more awesome.
Absolutely. Namespaces. Namespaces are open source in 1.0, and we would like to know how you're using them. And that's really something that is new or new for the open source side, and we'd like to see how they're being used in the wild. The dynamic application sizing and auto scaling, definitely stuff that we'd like more information on, more feedback. I know that we have that on Azure and AWS, and gosh, it would be so nice to see something that worked on GCP. Not that I'm biased, but no, sorry. But please take a look at it, make things scale, give us feedback.
Yeah, the last one I'll plug is topology visualization in the UI.
Oh yes.
If you have like any different or fun size clusters, send screenshots. I've, with just my little Nomad cluster, have had fun looking at, my little topology visualization sitting on my desk. But yeah, it's always interesting seeing people with significantly large clusters sharing looking at how the UI scales to accommodate that.
I also wanted to mention regarding the event stream that the API for it right now, the GRPC types that are involved, are things that we just kind of guessed at. The features that you can filter things by topics is something that we want to keep, but the actual usability of that, we're not really sure on. So you have to do, in some cases, type conversion from the protobuf types back to the type you would care about. So even this morning, as I was writing the demo pairing with Drew, we changed how it worked a bit to make it so that we could print out a little bit nicer of a thing, which has an impact for any other consumer of the event stream. So really just, what is this like? Do you like using this? Would it be preferable to have different types or different information on the types? That's the kind of information that would be really valuable.
So you mentioned docs earlier, and one of the questions I've been getting a lot, so I was like, I might as well ask it here, is are we considering doing version docs going forward?
I know the least about this, but I think the answer is yes, right? Like, it's something that is being worked on. So hopefully that didn't spill the beans, but I don't know who's first up in terms of products, but version docs is happening.
It's something, it is a considerable undertaking, but it's something that I know folks have been asking for quite a while. I'd be super excited to see that, and I think that, yeah. So again, being a former Fitter practitioner, I have a list of frustrations I had when I was working with our tools, and now that I am here, so cool. Yes. So TLDR, yes.
All right. And then the next question we have lined up is, how do events work with the Autoscaler?
Yeah. Currently, with the existing set of events that the event stream supports, you would probably get an event for changes to the underlying job, but it's our plan to support scaling events as a first class object in the event stream. So whenever the autoscaler makes a decision and decides to scale up or scale down anything, you will be able to subscribe to that. Yeah, so that it will be supported fully. I think we should be able to get around to supporting job scaling events in time for the 1.0 final.
And the next question we have is, how does Event Stream relate to APM or other types of introspection and general observability?
Does anyone want this one?
Maybe I can answer this because I do have a history of working in the observability space, and my feeling is that the event stream will give you information about things that are occurring, but the kind of things you'd want to know from an APM standpoint are different things. Like you want to know how many requests are succeeding or failing, and the event stream won't tell you that. You want to know other things like characteristics of things, which you just won't get from an event stream, at least as we have this implemented. There's maybe like a future where there is a kind of event where it would include information like that, where Nomad attempted to do something and then could not for some reason and throws an event on the event stream saying as such. But right now, the only events that you'll get are something actually happened, was persisted in the state store, and here's the result of what occurred.
Yeah, I think some APMs also support have support for structured logs, right? So at some level, the events that get emitted can be used to do like aggregate functions that a normal structured log thing like Logstash or Datadog logs would support. But that's not to say that the event stream supports structured logging in Nomad, which would be definitely a fun issue to tackle.
And you could totally build something like that. Like you can convert the event stream into structured logging, but again, like the kind of information that you would have in there would probably not be the same kind of thing you'd be querying Datadog for.
So on that note, what kind of events are supported today? And are there any more that we're hoping to add or see in the future?
Yeah, I think we touched on this one a bit with jobs, allocations, deployments, evals. I hope I'm not missing
Nodes.
the last one. Oh yeah, nodes. I think next up is ACLs. We want to get ACLs handled so Nomad itself can consume them to be able to check like, was the ACL token that created this subscription request revoked? If so, we should make sure that subscription is closed. And then from the security operator standpoint of, I think it's just really valuable information to have. Maybe Ken could touch more on that. I imagine it's valuable to have, but I don't know. I've never been a security operator, so.
Totally. The kind of ACL tokens that either Nomad may be making on behalf of a service, for example, with the console integration, or any ACL tokens made by management with a management token. Those kinds of things are definitely things I want to have events around. So more security sensitive visibility into the cluster is definitely better from a security standpoint.
And so Drew also mentioned the kind of like the types of events that occur, but within those things, the kind of changes that are occurring to those types mostly are creates and updates. Only I think on node deregistration, which is a kind of delete event, do we support sending an event. We don't do that presently for the other types. And that's not because it's a bad thing to do. We just haven't gotten that far. This has mostly been a kind of exploratory POC thing. And so we don't have the full gamut of create, update, and delete that you would get for all the types.
Yeah, that's definitely a really good point to bring up because we currently don't know, like we're definitely looking for input on what do you want to see when something was deleted, because in the state store, it's just gone now. But when we're creating events, we still have a reference to it. So we could kind of give out like a final broadcast of an allocation or a node or something like that. But we've been focused on creates and updates so far, but we're definitely looking for some inputs on around deletion.
Also on the note of events, what kind of off-the-shelf syncs do we have for it right now?
This is a good question and something that we've been iterating around. We wanted to be careful with the design of how we did this, and I think also we know that a lot of the community is already using Nomad Firehose. So for some people, they'll want to just continue using Nomad Firehose, and what we do for the event stream should only just enhance Firehose to be more performant. But we also are looking at things like what Kris demoed to handle a gRPC endpoint that could potentially, you could use it to send events wherever you want. So we definitely want to support Nomad Firehose. I think currently right now in the beta, we have a webhook event sync that will post webhooks on your behalf for you. So you can kind of like register an endpoint and give it a request or a set of topics to send events to, and we'll post those events to that webhook. That has been more of an experiment, and we might be removing it. So if you find that really valuable, let us know. But I think it's something that the event stream could probably, that the Nomad Firehose could probably suit better than Nomad doing it.
Cool. I think that one sort of, as you were mentioning that, one of the things that I think has inspired this work is watching the backflips that people have gone through, and the great effort that's gone into Nomad Firehose. So again, one of the deeply gratifying things that we get to do is to help remove obstacles and eliminate toil. So I'm happy we're getting to do that for a swath of the community, and particularly the folks that have put work into Nomad Firehose.
Just looking through if there's any other questions. I think the last one we have here, unless others come in or there's other things we'd like to cover, which is totally fine too, is what are the benefits of using the event stream over blocking queries?
This one, I guess I kind of covered earlier. It's relating to the connection teardown that is involved in doing the blocking queries, and the fact that you need to make a new request for every single thing that occurs. So you can have like one request open for a long period of time, and then maybe something will change, and then you would get that response and create a new connection to continue watching. Whereas with the event stream with the gRPC server, you just need to make one connection, and from then you'll just get the events as they occur. There's also, I guess, one other aspect of it, which is that with the current implementation of using blocking queries for different endpoints, you get a series of homogeneous events for a particular kind of request that you've made. So with Nomad Firehose, the implementation there is you've got one way to get allocation events, and you've got another one to get deployment events. There is no way, given the current HTTP API, to get a single heterogeneous list of all the events that occurred. And that's what you go with the event stream. So you can, if you want, split it up however you like into individual like sets of allocations, but you can also just take that event stream as is and see the picture of everything that's occurred if you so choose, and do with it whatever you like.
Awesome. So we do have another question, and it is, do we have any news about the state of CNI in a 1.x release? Will it be out of beta?
So I think CNI is, again, one of those projects that is limited by, or where what we do is limited by spec changes. So I know that we are putting more work into CNI in 1.x, and I think I would love to be able to provide a definitive response, but I want to make sure I'm not making things up. So it definitely, and some of the other things that we want to show up there are documentation around CNI, which I think is something that I think it is it is mystifying for many people. CNI is mystifying, and networking in general seems to be mystifying to lots of folks. So just making that clearer. Let's see. So I know we're looking at more of a phase 2, and I think really we'll see how things evolve. We definitely want to make it. We want to make it GA when it is robust and happy and ready. And I think it's no secret that the standard for what is truly GA at HashiCorp is fairly high. So,
And how about for CSI?
So for CSI again, I think that's actually CSI in particular is one of the places where we're definitely limited by the fact that, to a large degree, the spec is a moving target, and also the way that CSI has been implemented in various places. A lot of the functionality that folks depend upon is elsewhere. So in 1.0, it's not yet GA, and we're looking at sort of a CNI, CSI phase 2. I love acronyms. And so we'll be beefing it up, and we'll be looking at we'll be enhancing it. It's not out of beta yet.
I was just looking to see if there's more questions or not, but at the moment it doesn't look like there is, and I think we're closing in on time. Yeah, so think if anyone has any, or we could go around the room, that would be fine too. There's more people that I'm used to like handing off to, so I'm like, how do I hand off? I think we go around the room. If there's anything else that you'd like to share, or that you're excited about, or that you want the community to know about, and I guess I'll start with Kent.
Yeah, so one thing I always love to share specifically is the Nomad security model. I highly recommend you check it out, because now that we have one, it hopefully will clear up any misconceptions you may have, and hopefully clearly documents what are the recommendations and requirements for a secure Nomad cluster. And if any time that isn't clear, feel free to make an issue or a pull request to help fix it, and we'll work on that together.
How about you, Drew?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're just really looking forward to seeing how people use Event Stream. So feel free to open up a discuss topic, or let us know on GitHub, or any other way you know how to find us about how we can help make the event stream better for you all.
How about you, Gale?
Oh, so yeah, I'm really excited about namespaces in 1.0 and looking at sort of what that gives us and where we can go from there is something I look forward to. So really want to see how folks are using it, want to see folks bang on it, file bugs, let us know, provide feedback, and just also wanted to mention, since Kent was too modest to mention it, one of my personal favorite pieces or recent contributions to Nomad from the community, or from the extended community, I guess, or our extended team. The GCP getting started, the cloud getting started, is exactly what I wanted to see a few years ago, when I was kind of poking around Nomad and trying to see what Nomad was about. So check it out and have some fun. And I think Kris.
Yeah, I'll mostly echo what Drew said. I'm pretty new to the team. I think it's less than a month, but I was a practitioner of Nomad. I think at this point I can say I've used it in anger quite a bit. And there are certain features that I wrote workarounds for, which I'm hoping to add to the core product. So I'm just excited for the future.
I'm excited to see those too. Yeah, I guess for me, I want to hear if you're listening and you've got Nomad projects, or you're doing a cool thing, or you've got thoughts or feedback, please at me, reach out to me. I want to hear it. I want to have these discussions and see what you're building, and kind of see how we can get that feedback in and, bring that back to the team. It's probably one of my favorite parts of my job is when I get to do these like one-on-one or small group meetings and people can walk through their code or their projects and show me all the cool things that they're doing. And we've had a couple instances, even internally. I think our SRA team had some stuff that they were working on, and I found the repository and I shared it to our ecosystem team. I was like, look what I found, real examples, I'm so excited. And basically the reaction was, oh, they're doing that way. I didn't expect that. I wonder why, and if there's something that we can do to make it easier than that. And just kind of being able to have those reactions from the team is maybe not as visible to the community, but that is the kind of reactions we have when we get this feedback. So please bring it in. Yeah, otherwise, I think we are at time. It's been great having everyone on here. We've had a couple first-time guests as well, and I've really enjoyed this. It's been really nice. And a demo, also very nice. Yeah. And then otherwise, I believe we have 2 more of these deep dive sessions during KubeCon that you can find at hashicorp.com/community/office-hours. Wow, I can speak. And I think our next, I don't remember when our next office hours is. So it's coming up next month.
This month. Well, technically next month, but really soon. It is December 2nd, I want to say, and it is focusing on front end and UI with our awesome front end team, Michael and Buck. And we also have HashiCorp Live tomorrow.
And Tracy's going to be hosting that with 2 of our members from, I believe, our Terraform providers team. And if I'm wrong, I think she's in chat and can correct the team. I'm so sorry. And they're going to be talking about the Terraform SDK. And I believe that's everything. Any final things I've missed? Totally okay if the answer is yes or no.
It's been wonderful to join you. It's been a delight, and really looking forward to seeing what the community does with Event Stream and 1.0 and beyond.
As always, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We wouldn't be the same without the community we have. And honestly, I love our community. It's just such a joy to get to work with you. And I hope you have a great rest of KubeCon or the rest of your week if you're not attending. And we'll see you soon at the next one. Thanks for joining, everyone.